What's going on, lovely people? How are you? Welcome into the show. We're here with Fred and Dre. This is the Flea Flicker Show. Let's head right over. Start with the NFC. Start with our
Yeah.
homeboys. So, as you can see, with my Hurts One shirt on here, I'm a big bloomer for the Philadelphia Eagles. So, being infielder myself, going to the game tonight, and I think the Eagles are going to run away with it again this year. I think they're going to run away with the division. I got them at a league's best 16-1, which is probably pretty optimistic. I do have them losing to the Chiefs this year. I do think the Chiefs just have their number, but I think they're going to beat out the Bills. I think they're going to beat the Dolphins. Especially since the Dolphins game is going to be at home. I think that the Eagles corner room is going to stay with those two speed threats there, and I just think there's ultimately more weapons for them to beat out the Dolphins as a whole. Coming in second, I got the Giants, getting over 10 wins, being a playoff team, followed by the Cowboys being pretty competitive right there, about 500. They're 8-9 in my book, but I think Dak Prescott's going to take a step back, and he has not looked good throughout the preseason and training camp. He's disconnected with his receivers on seemingly every drop back. So through four interceptions against his own team. So I don't think he's going to do a ton this year. I don't have a lot of confidence. They lost Dalton Schultz, who was a security blanket for them. They did get Cooks, who is great in his own right, but I just don't think they're going to be who they once were, and I think they're going to take a slide. Washington, I have at the bottom of the division winning some games, but they do have a lot of weapons, both defensively and offensively. I just don't have a ton of confidence that Howell's going to take them to the next level and get them as a contender or even middle of the road team in that division.
Yeah, for me, I also had Philly at 16-1, losing to the Chiefs actually. They just look so good. It's not fair. I think they're going to be really good. But then I
Hey,
actually
now they're in talks to be one of the potential trade candidates for Taylor
oh
and creating the
Jesus,
Taylor Swift backfield.
it's not going to happen. I don't see that. No. I refuse.
They're being talked about for pretty much any trade,
Yeah,
really,
I mean, Howie's
and
a
who can
traitor,
make
man.
them better. I mean, Howie's a genius, and I mean Aaron Donald, if he's shipped away, they're being
Oh,
talked
gee,
about as
for
being
God's,
the
they don't need
destination
Aaron
for him,
Donald.
which they don't really need it for the defensive line. But if they did, it'd be sitting in a lap of luxury.
Ridiculous. But yeah, after Philly, I actually have Dallas coming in second, just because their defense and Micah Parsons still scares me, man. Um, their offense, we'll see. I think they'll take a step down on offense, especially after losing Kellen Moore. I don't trust the fat man at all. Um, but I do have them taken second at 8-9. I have the Giants tied with them at 8-9, but the Cowboys take the tiebreaker there. The Giants, I'm a huge Giants fan. I love the Giants, but we do have a tougher schedule this year. So we'll see what we can do. We added, Darren Waller, a huge weapon. We got rid of all the problem children on the team, and we added like Paris Campbell. We added Jalen Hyatt, the rookie. He looked really good in the preseason. We still got Isaiah Hodgins and Darius Slayton at receiver. I think we'll be
And still have Barkley.
yeah, and going to running back, we have Saquon Barkley. We
I
brought him
mean,
back. Hope you be.
Saquon Barkley is one of the tops in the league, and he's a weapon that teams are going to game plan for night in, night out. Now adding the fact that Bellinger was pretty solid for you last year, and
He's
now
a
you have
tank.
Waller there. You have Waller and Bellinger. I think they're really going to try to have that two tight end set that was in New
Yeah,
England when
I
Doble
think
was
I
there.
think we're gonna
So
make New England
um,
jealous.
yeah,
So yeah,
I think he will. I mean, he definitely. I mean, Waller's certainly better than Gesicki, and I think Bellinger's an up and coming tight
yeah.
end. So
And then our defense should be solid still. We still have Wink Martindale. We're blitz happy. We were the number one blitzing team last year, so we're gonna have quarterbacks running. And Thibodeau and Aziz Ojulari, they're gonna come back for year two with each other. I think Tibbs is gonna have a breakout year. I think he's gonna be really good. Uh,
he's a
yes,
freak. Tibbs is a
I was
freak.
so happy when we
I
got him.
do think Ojolari is very underrated. Um, he's someone that when the Eagles play him, I'm always kind of afraid that he's going to get to the backfield because he's a big man and I think he has a high motor that can really get by any offensive lineman. I think he's a very underrated defensive weapon for
Yeah.
you guys.
And we brought in Bobby Okereke from the Colts to be our middle linebacker and our captain of the defense, and he looks really good. The only question is really the corner room.
Yeah.
We got a couple of rookies that are going to be starting there, so we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I think the Giants will be
It'll be
solid.
interesting.
And then I also have Washington rounding them out in the back. I like Sam Howell actually, I do, but there's just too many question marks on that team and too much competition. I don't think they're gonna do too hot.
I agree. I mean, they have a lot of receivers. I mean, they have Dotson, they have Scary Terry.
Terry's good.
I mean, their defense is pass rush. Their pass rush is phenomenal. It's
True.
one of the top in the league, especially when it's healthy. But it hasn't been healthy, so we'll see what they can do though. And I don't think they can really protect Sam Howell. And with with a question mark at QB, you better be able to protect him. And
Yeah.
let's see what he can do with time. If he doesn't have time, it's really hard to have any confidence there.
They did add Eric Bieniemy as their O coordinator. They're hoping that they get some Chiefs magic from him, but I don't know if they're gonna see that.
Yeah, here he's been pretty tough on the players, and they're complaining about how tough he's been on them, and
Yeah, I heard Curtis Samuel
that
had to
might
like
not be
defend
a
him.
recipe for success with some of those divas that they have.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the NFC East that we have there. I'm gonna go ahead and move up to the NFC West, unless you got something
Yeah.
else.
No,
Yeah,
take it
so
away.
I think San Francisco is going to be really good with. They've decided Brock Purdy's their guy, and they still have Kyle Shanahan, the Wizard, and they still have Debo. They got George Kittle. He's been a little injury prone, but they're just a dangerous team. So I think they're going to be really good again. And then after them, I have Seattle. They're always good with Pete Carroll as the coach. I think they're going to be a playoff team again. And then the Rams. They were rough last year. I think they can come back a little bit and try to win, but I don't think they're gonna make it. They just look so bad on like their O line and
Yeah.
even the defense. Other than Aaron Donald is like a question mark at this point. Um, and then the
Agree.
Cardinals are probably gonna be the worst team in the league, so I have them last.
Yeah, I got a pretty similar standings there. I mean, I have the 49ers repeating with the same record as last year actually, so I have them being 13-4.
I think it's realistic.
I'm a little hesitant to trust Purdy. I mean, I know the team does, but I mean, he was Mr. Irrelevant in last year's draft, and he did have a huge run last year to get them
Yeah.
into the playoffs and into the NFC Championship. But if the NFC Championship proved anything, it's that they couldn't protect him. He was pressured on every single drop back almost, and if any team that has a good defensive line saw that and is just going to press him every single drop back, then they're probably going to have a tough time there. But we'll see what they can do. I'd like to see him be successful, but I'm not too positive he will be. You might hear Jack crying in the background.
He
right
wants
now,
to make
so
an appearance.
Talia's trying to put him to sleep, and it's not going too well.
Yeah. The Niners also have Christian McCaffrey.
But I
too.
do have.
Don't forget about him. The
What
Niners
was that?
also have Christian
Oh
McCaffrey.
no, you can't forget about CMC. Can't forget about CMC and Ayuk, Debo Samuel. I mean, the offense is stacked. Kittle, love those WWE celebrations that Kittle has in the end zone. His tenacity on the field is just relentless. I love the energy that he brings, just dripping with sweat. Their defense is
Nick Bosa,
amazing.
baby.
Fred Warner, Bosa, they're so good, man. The defense is what scares you the most. But I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll take a step back with DeMeco going to the Texans in terms of defensive tenacity there on the team. But yeah, I have a little bit switched there. So I actually have the Cardinals in third, and then the Rams. Both of them I have being pretty bad. I think they're both going to be some of the bottom teams in the league, and I think the Rams are ultimately going to start off really poorly and sell off.
It could
the
happen.
Jets. I think they're going to sell off Donald. I think they might try to sell Cooper Cup. I just think they're going to ask for too much. No team's going to take it, um, especially with his contract that the team would be taking on. Although you are getting one of the top receivers in the
I
league,
feel like they could get a
Mr.
lot for him.
Consistency
Teams
there.
like receivers these days.
They good. It's becoming more and more pass heavy league, so I
Yeah.
mean, certainly can get more for a receiver than you can for a running back.
Poor running
Um,
backs.
and then the Cardinals, I have starting out extremely
Who do
poorly.
they even have?
Is I mean their schedule, regardless of who they face, they're gonna have Colt McCoy at quarterback, and I'm a Texas guy, um, and he's a former Texas Longhorn, but it's hard to have confidence in him as an NFL QB, um, and I just don't see them doing too much out of the gate. Even when they have Marquise Brown there,
Hollywood.
they'll have Rondale Moore. Um, they have Connor at running back, and they have decent
Rondale.
weapons. When Kyler's back, I think they're going to be pretty decent, but their defense is
Awful.
so bad. Speaking from seeing Jonathan Gannon with the Eagles as the DC, there were a lot of games that his defensive scheme let people back in, and his failure to adjust for offenses and adjust his defense really let people back into the game. And I think he's ultimately going to be a detriment to the defense there that
Yeah.
already isn't that good, and they didn't know how to use Isaiah Simmons and trade him. So we'll see how it goes, but I ultimately don't think they're going to be too good. I think they're going to get maybe 4 or 5 wins, and the Rams 3 or 4 wins themselves.
I think the
So
Cardinals
I
are
don't
going to
think
have the
they're going
first
to be very
overall
good at all.
pick. And I think they're going to get that kid from, was it Oklahoma? Is that what he's played for? Oklahoma State? Oklahoma? USC? I don't even remember. That really,
The quarterback,
yeah, the really good quarterback.
USC,
USC, he was on
USC.
Oklahoma, though,
It's Brandon
right?
Brandon Williams, right? Is it Brandon Williams?
Let's just stop talking about him. This is getting embarrassing. Let's But yeah, I think the
Yeah, we
Cardinals
don't know
might
anything. We
actually
don't
get
watch
him
college.
in the draft next year.
Yeah,
But yeah, you talked about
I mean, whoever gets him is getting a stud. I mean, I don't have a lot of confidence in USC QBs, but whoever gets him is getting a
I
stud.
agree. But yeah, you talked about your love for Texas with Colt McCoy. So I'm going to talk about my love for WVU. Let's go! Geno Smith on the Seahawks. I'm so happy that he is a starting quarterback in this league. He looked terrible on the Jets 10 years ago. That's a full decade. Now he's a beast on the Seahawks. He's in Seattle slinging it to DK.
I will say I love
slinging it
Geno.
to, I don't even know, Tyler
I love
Lockett. They got
Geno.
Kenneth Walker, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. He got hurt, but he looks like he's going to be real good. I'm about to be.
Yeah, they have a loaded team. He looked good last year, and uh, you might have to rock a Seahawks
I was
jersey
about to
this year.
say,
And they got pretty sick
I'm
jerseys to rock,
pumped for the Seahawks.
especially those throwback ones. Those throwbacks are
Yeah,
pretty
I love
sweet.
their jerseys too. And maybe I'll be a Seahawks fan if the.
Yeah,
No, I'm a Giants fan through and through. But like second team, it might be the Seahawks.
could at least get yourself a
I
Geno
might.
jersey.
I have a David Sills jersey from just because he's from West Virginia on the Giants. I need a Geno Smith Seahawks jersey. I might order one like when we get off this call. To be honest, I love
There
it.
you go.
But yeah,
Well, I think we're pretty set there with the NFC West. Let's go. Let's move on to the NFC North.
let's do it. What do you got?
I think for there, I think it's gonna be pretty competitive. I think all these teams, with exception of Minnesota, most of the teams there are kind of embracing the youth, similar
Yeah.
to the AFC South. But I think most of these teams, in part, are a little bit more better equipped in that division in terms of embracing youth there. I mean, you have actually QBs in place there for the teams. I do think the Detroit is going to take steps forward from what they
I
did
agree.
last year and be a playoff team. I have Detroit winning the division with an 11-6 record, and I think that's not out of the realm of possibility for them. I mean, last year they were 9-8, and they didn't come on really until the end of the year. So I think they're going to be pretty solid. I mean, they put up a lot of points in the Eagles' defense in the beginning of the season. It was all after halftime when the Eagles were already up like 30 points, but still, they've proven throughout all of last year they're able to put up points, and now they invested a little bit more in the defense, and I think they're going to be pretty solid. Second in that division, I have being the the Minnesota Vikings. Not a great record. I have them squeaking in with a 9-8 record, and I think they're gonna be pretty decent. They still have Justin Jefferson. They still have some weapons there with Osborne, Hawkinson. They went and got one of the top receivers in the draft, and the offense is still going to be good even after losing Cook. Alexander Madison is a pretty good backup. I think he's going to be more than capable to be at least a serviceable starting running back for them. And the real thing with them is the defense. I don't think they can really stop too many people, so they're going to take a significant step back from last year at 13-4. And I think the defense is really going to be what leads them to have
Big
that
question
fallback.
mark, yeah.
But I have them having the same record as the Bears, 9-8. So Bears, I think they're a team moving up, and they went out and did a lot to fill the offense with weapons for Fields. It'll be interesting to see what Fields can do this year, and if he takes a step forward, similar to what Jalen Hurts did. They're pretty similar in terms of their skill sets. So, can he be that guy that's both an athlete and a contending QB?
Yeah, it remains to be seen.
And with the Packers, I do have them being in a lot of games in my mind. I just don't think they have enough to get over that hump. They're going to be in the bottom of the division in my mind at 5-12, but I don't think the record is going to be really indicative of what the team is. I think they have a lot of good pieces, a lot of good young pieces, two really good young tight ends. Jordan Love, I still have a lot of confidence in him, even though he sat behind Rodgers, but Rodgers sat behind Favre,
Yep.
so he was learning from one of the best QBs to ever play. So I think there's a lot to be said there, and they have good running backs still in Dillon and Jones. Good offensive line, decent defensive pieces, and I think it'll be a learning year for Jordan Love. But I do think in the next year or two that they'll be competitive again in that division, and that division as a whole is just going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, I have a similar standings to you. I have Detroit taking it. I have them fighting off the Vikings. I still think the Vikings are going to be good. They brought in Brian Flores as their D coordinator. I think he's going to help like fix some of the issues they had. They're still missing pieces, but I think they'll be better. Um, they obviously lost some pieces. It does look like they're pushing for a bit of a youth movement. They're just kind of taking their time with it. We'll see if Kirk stays after this year. And then I have the Packers actually at third. So for the Packers, I think they're gonna start off kind of rough, like trying to fix all the kinks that are going on. But I think the second half of the year they're gonna really catch fire and try to like even maybe make a playoff push. But I think they're gonna fall short. And then the Bears, I just don't trust.
Yeah, for me with them, it's more so like with the Packers, they do have a lot of pieces, but like you just look at last year with how many games they were in strictly because of Aaron Rodgers playing
Yeah,
Hero
yeah,
Ball, and you just don't have that confidence that Jordan Love can do that. And until you see the receivers outside of Watson really take the next step,
we'll see if Watson can
there's
mesh
not
with
really a
Love
lot to
too.
be confident there.
They do have
Yeah,
a really good
that's
running
true. I
backs
mean,
though.
it's a new QB with young receivers, and those receivers have to develop with the QB. So, both chemistry and just in the game in general, they have to show that they can beat press coverage, beat a good corner, and take those next
Yeah, I
steps.
like their O line though too.
I do love Reed, their drafted receiver that they got this year. I think Jalen Reed's a solid
Hmm.
receiver. That's going to be a great addition to that offense in the next
Yeah,
couple of years,
we'll see.
especially.
But I do like the O line as well. David Bakhtiari, he needs to stay healthy. He's supposedly going to be healthy this year, but we'll see. He's a beast when he's healthy. And then they got John Runyon, Zach Tom, Elton Jenkins, and Josh Myers. I think the O line is going to help out a lot with the young guys in that group. Um, but then I have the Bears coming up in last because I just don't trust the coaching staff there at all. Like, there's only so much. Yeah, there's
That
only
makes
so
sense.
much Justin Fields can do with. I mean, he has DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, and Chase Claypool, but I just feel like there's only so much they can do if you can't trust the coaching staff um, with broken plays and
Right.
stuff.
He's got a good. I mean, look at the Broncos last year. The Broncos had a lot of pieces, and they were
Bad
terrible.
coaching, bad quarterback
Um,
play.
it was bad coaching. I mean, look at how Sean Payton threw the coaching under the
Yep.
bus, and he's since gone back on his statement, but
I'm pumped
um,
for
it just goes to show you how much a coach can
this.
do.
Isn't like the Bears have nothing to do with this, but I'm pumped for the Broncos versus Jets. And was it week 5? That's going to be a fun game after that. After those comments.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
But that's all I got for the NFC North. Unless you got something, I'm gonna go to the final division, the NFC South.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
take a
I'm
look
kind
at
of
it.
gonna maybe run through this kind of quick because like all these teams are kind of trash in my eyes, like they were last year. But I have the Falcons taking that division just because I I guess I believe in their youngsters a little more. They got some dangerous players in there. Um, I think they're gonna have a losing record and take the division. And then I have Carolina actually in second. I think Carolina's going to start off slow, kind of like I said with the Packers, and then they're going to start winning games later on. But they look really bad in the preseason, so we'll see with them. Their O line is an issue. I have New Orleans in third. I think all three of those teams are going to be kind of battling it out for a terrible division winning record. New Orleans could win it, though. They have decent players on that team. And then I think Tampa's just going to be terrible. I think they're going to be awful. Baker looked solid in the preseason so far, but I just don't trust Todd Bowles and the coaching staff there. So I have them rounding out that
No,
division in last. Um,
yeah, I mean, I have relatively. Uh, was going to say I have relatively similar, but they're kind of scattered all over the place and a little bit different there for you. But I do have the Saints and Falcons kind of battling it out. I think um, I like the pieces the Falcons have, especially long term. I think Drake London's a phenomenal piece at
yes,
receiver. I
he
think
is.
Bijan is just a unicorn. He's phenomenal.
Yep.
And that's not even speaking just as a Longhorns fan myself, but Bijan is one of the best running backs we've seen in a
He
long
might be the
time. And
best running back in the league,
I think he's going to
like
do,
day one.
yeah, he's got RB1 potential as a rookie, which is insane. But I think Matt Collins is a little bit underrated. He put on some size
He's
this year, and I
big.
think he's a good jump ball receiver. He's not like gonna light up the stat sheet or anything, but you can definitely see him putting up 800 yards or something like that. It's not out of the realm of possibility. But Kyle Pitts, phenomenal talent. I really hope that he can do something, especially with him being from the Philadelphia area. I'd love to see him taking that next step and kind of doing what he showed in his rookie year that he can do.
Yeah, I think
But outside of that rookie season, he hasn't done that
Yeah,
much.
you're right. I think between Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Bijan, though, I think they're going to just have home run hitters all over the field, and it's going to be difficult to cover them all.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I have them at 8 and 9, and I only have the Saints at 9 and 8. So I have them being right there to compete for the top of the division. I just think Derek Carr is a little bit more. It's, he's a vet. He knows what he's doing. I
Yeah,
have a little bit more confidence in him than Desmond Ritter. So um,
that's fair.
Roger or Derek Carr. Why am I talking about Aaron Rodgers? But Derek Carr, I think I think he's just going to not necessarily be a missing piece for the Saints, but I think he's just going to be enough of a game manager, enough of a guy to take them to the playoffs.
To win a crap division,
I mean,
yeah.
they have Kamara when he comes back. Yeah. I think they have Kamara when he comes back. He's still
Yeah.
phenomenal. Jamal Williams is a phenomenal red zone guy.
I love Jamal
You have
Williams.
Chris Olave, Michael Thomas if he's healthy. Juwan Johnson is a very
Oh, I forgot about
underrated
Juwan
tight end
Johnson.
in
Yeah.
my mind, and they have a lot of pieces on defense if they're healthy too. So the big thing is most of their defenders can't stay healthy. But if they're healthy, they're very good. I mean, Mario Davis, Tyron Matthew, Marshawn Lattimore, Cameron Jordan, they got a lot of pieces, but they just can't stay
Yeah.
healthy.
They have a lot of dangerous pieces, but yeah, health, availability, um, uh, Kamara's suspended, and then the coaching staff I don't fully trust either there.
Yeah. I mean, Kamara's only suspended for 3 games, though.
Oh, I had 6 games in my head for some reason. 3 games is much more manageable.
Yeah. Yeah. He's only suspended for 3 games, so it's not too much of a task for them, especially in that division, to be competitive. But I mean, I actually had the Bucks coming in
It
third in
could
the
happen.
division, but still being pretty trash. I had them at 5-11, so um, that's not accurate because that's only 16 games. But anyway, I have them coming in. I have them being third in the division. I have them being competitive in a lot of games. They have a lot of pieces still. I mean, they have Mike Williams. They have Rashad White, who didn't look phenomenal last year, but wasn't good enough to beat out Fournette for the RB1 on the team. And they have Chris Godwin. I think Trey Palmer is a phenomenal piece out of the draft. Just quarterback, man. Quarterback is the make or break. And they have Baker Mayfield, which you know what you're getting out of him. And Kyle Trask, I just feel like I think they're going to move to Kyle Trask at some
Yeah,
point,
they definitely could.
but I'm not confident that he's really going to give them that much. I think they're going to be one of the teams that are right in there and might even use some draft capital by trading away guys like Mike Evans or Chris
Hmm.
Godwin or one of their defenders like Shaquille Barrett, Levante David, for some draft capital to try and get Caleb Williams.
I could see that.
Because, I mean,
I
like we said, Williams is
I think
phenomenal.
Baker Mayfield, he's like so streaky as a player. He's gonna win them some games like with his talent alone, and then he's gonna lose them some games with his craziness alone,
For
basically.
sure.
But yeah,
For sure. I mean, they have a pretty tough schedule to start. So, I mean, you could see them very easily start out like 0-4,
and then
0
start
5,
selling.
and then just decide to go with Calatrask because they took him in the second round
True.
last year. So you want to
This was a
see what
couple
you
of years
have in
ago
him
now.
before committing to a first round guy this year.
Yeah,
Was it?
I think it was the year that that they brought in Brady. I think I could be wrong, but I think it's been a couple of years.
Well, yeah, it's pretty tough to tell when the guy never plays.
Yeah.
So
So you got the
it's tough to remember when someone was drafted if they just rode the pine. So I do think the Panthers are. I had them coming in last. I just don't have a lot of confidence they're going to be that good.
see. I had more
Um,
confidence
I mean,
before the
I get that
preseason
their
started.
team. You
Before the
did.
preseason, yeah.
I just don't have a lot of confidence in Bryce Young. I think he is. I think he's just as kind of sketchy of a quarterback prospect as Anthony Richardson. He's much
He's got
smaller,
way better stats, but he
but
had a
he's
way
way
better
less
team
athletic.
too.
Um, he was
Yeah.
on Alabama. I mean, every Alabama QB has
Yeah.
good stats. Uh, so I mean, like they have decent weapons. They have Miles Sanders. Granted, last year he was running behind the Eagles' offensive line. Not to shy away from the fact that the Panthers do have a great offensive line, very underrated. But he can't stay healthy, and outside of him, I mean, last year was the first year that Miles Sanders was really healthy, and outside of him, there's not really much to be excited about in the
Did you say the
backfield and
Panthers had a good O line or the Eagles?
receiving wise.
The
Panthers.
Panthers. So I thought the O line was solid with because Icky looked decent, and then they brought in. They got like Corbett, Taylor Moton. They like looked like they could be solid, but in the preseason, they have looked very rough on it. Like Bryce Young's been
Yeah,
getting no time in the backfield, but
I'm just going off last
last
year.
year, yeah,
Last year, like Donta Foreman and Chuba Hubbard, they were able to run with those guys as the offensive line, and I mean, it's worth noting that McCaffrey didn't do shit before he got
yeah,
traded. So um, I don't know if those running backs necessarily like took people by surprise, but the offensive line didn't
I
look bad
agree, yeah.
last year. It looked at least serviceable. Can they keep it together? Who knows? But I do like a lot of the pieces that they added. They added Adam Thielen, DJ Chark, drafted Jonathan Mingo, added Hayden Hurst. Um, I just don't know that those offensive pieces are enough to really elevate them too much, especially
Yeah, I
with
think
Bryce Young being such a question mark.
I
I mean,
really like the
he's
coaching
under
staff
six
there
feet,
too.
under 200 pounds,
I think they have
not
the
incredibly
potential for the
fast.
future
He's
to be really
evasive and
good.
he's
It's just
smart, but without that
this year could be rough,
elite
like you were
athleticism
saying.
at his
I
stature, I
almost
don't
agree
see
with
him
like
really
your
taking that
standings
next
more
step.
than
So
mine, to be
I don't
honest.
see him being elite. I see him being serviceable and um,
You
maybe
are
not a
frozen
complete
on my
bust,
end, by
not
the way.
a Johnny
I
Manziel
don't know if you
bust,
can hear me
but
or
I
not.
don't see him being great. I can hear you. You're frozen though, like your body's
Am I
frozen.
still frozen?
Wait,
You are unfrozen now.
yeah. You're unfrozen now. Did you hear anything I said?
You stopped talking at some point. Did you hear when I started talking?
Now you're frozen again.
Oh, you're frozen again.
I guess it's just telling us we should
Yeah,
wrap it
yeah, we
up
should wrap it up. To be honest.
because it was going
Yeah,
pretty
we're pretty
well.
much at the end. If we just finish up with the
Yeah,
playoffs.
yeah. Let's finish with the playoffs here.
So what do you got for the wild card for the NFC then? Or sorry, what's your like number? Who do you got making it?
Yeah, so I got the Eagles at the 1 seed. I have 49ers as the 2 seed again, and then everything else is kind of shooken up from last year. There's a couple familiar faces with different standings. So I've got Lions, Saints, Seahawks, Giants, Vikings as my teams in that order. And then I've got the 49ers beating out the Vikings, Giants beating out the Lions, and the Seahawks beating the phenomenal New Orleans Saints.
All right, were you still talking?
Yeah. I was just doing a quick recap there. I've got the 49ers beating out the Vikings, Giants beating out the Lions. I think that's going to be a great game. And then I have the Seahawks beating the New Orleans Saints, who in any other division probably would not make the
Mm-hmm.
playoffs. But if any whatever team wins that division, I think they're a first round exit.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Yeah, so sorry, I had to take my dog out. He was whining at the door. Um, yeah, so my 1 seed and 2 seed is similar to yours, but flip flop. So I have the 49ers at 1 and the Eagles at 2. Then I have the Lions at 3. I have the Falcons at 4, the Seahawks at 5, the Vikings at 6, and the Cowboys at 7. So very similar to yours, but I have the Cowboys over the Giants, which I hate that I did that. I should have done it the other way. And then I have the Falcons instead of the Saints. I think were our only differences. And then for the wild card, I have Philly versus Dallas, which would be awesome. I would love that game, and I have Philly, of course, winning that. Um, I have Minnesota and Detroit for
Gotcha.
another divisional playoff game there, and I have Minnesota taking out Detroit, which I don't know if that would happen, but I just think Minnesota has the playoff experience, so I picked them. But Kirk struggles in the limelight, so who knows? And then I have Seattle.
Primetime Kirk
Yeah,
is not a
primetime
good
Kirk
Kirk.
is no bueno. And then I have Seattle taking out Atlanta or whoever that team may be. So,
Yeah, so pretty similar there in what we have. So I'm guessing you have Seattle versus the 2 seed, which is in your playoff is going to be the
yep.
Eagles, and then the 49ers versus your 6 seed. So was your 6 seed?
Minnesota.
Who was your 6? Minnesota. Okay. Um, yeah. Out of there, I'm guessing we likely have the same scenario. I have both the Eagles and the 49ers winning with a rematch of last year's
Yeah,
NFC Championship.
those two are the teams are the cream of the crop in the NFC. It's hard pressed for me to pick another team other than those two to make it.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult. There's not really the AFC. There's quite a few contenders, but the NFC there are leaps and bounds better than the rest of the league,
I will
the
be
rest of
rooting
the
for
conference.
Seattle though. I'll
Um,
let you know that right now.
for Gino, you're rooting
Exactly.
for Gino. Yeah. And then yeah, how about conference championship rounds? We got the final four going down, so pretty top seeded. They're on my side with the 1 and 2 in the NFC, the 1 and 3 in the AFC. You have the 1 and 2 as well, and you have the 1 and 2 in the AFC, I believe, right?
Yeah, I have the 1 and 2 at same as you in the NFC, and then the AFC I have the 1 and the 4 actually, because I
Okay.
had the Jets making a playoff run.
Uh, right. And I actually have on mine, so it's Bills matching up with the Chiefs, and I have the Bills taking it.
Oh, I
The
would love
Bill
that.
Josh Allen taking the Bills to their first Super Bowl in quite a while, and In the NFC, I have the Eagles beating out again the 49ers and going to the Super Bowl, and that's just a matchup I'd love to see, Bills Eagles, and I'd love to see those two insane fan
That
bases
would be wild.
tailgating for the Super Bowl and just tearing apart the parking lot. Both cities would just
Yep.
riot, and it would be an absolute disaster, and I'd
That
love
would
it.
be that
I'd
would be
love every
really
second of
fun.
it.
That would be really fun. Yeah. I actually have San Fran.
There'd be a lot of grease poles and a lot of broken tables.
Yeah. I actually have San Fran taking out the Eagles though, which honestly that would probably be a little difficult. The Eagles just look so good. It's so like it'd be crazy if they didn't make the Super Bowl again, to be honest. But I do have the 49ers taking them out
Yeah.
to make the Super Bowl. I really want Kyle Shanahan to get a ring. I think he deserves one. So I have them going. And then I actually have. This is kind of silly, but I have Aaron Rodgers and the Jets taking out the Bengals. Which, could you imagine? Because I have them beating the Chiefs in the divisional and then the Bengals in the conference. They take out the two best teams, arguably, I suppose, the two best teams in the AFC.
I think Rodgers would just instill himself as a New York City
Yes,
god.
yes, he would be able. He wouldn't pay for food
Yeah.
in New York ever again. I don't think if he did this.
Which is a great thing to have. Is the food in New York can be pretty pricey.
Yeah,
So
I heard Nick Foles for a long time didn't have to pay for food in Philly after his Super Bowl win.
at least cheesesteaks.
Cheese,
You don't have to pay for cheesesteaks in Philly.
but yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have San Fran versus New York Jets, which is it's kind of weird to say.
It is weird. And you want Shanahan to get it, so I'm guessing you
So I
have,
have San
the
Francisco
49ers
taking
coming
it,
on
yeah.
top.
Aaron Rodgers leaves unhappy again.
Uh, I have the Eagles winning. It's not just because I'm an Eagles fan. I
Of
mean,
course not. No.
they're a phenomenal team. They're stacked up and down. There's a few question marks on defense, mainly at linebacker and safety, but I do think Reed Blankenship's going to be very good. I think Edwards is going to fill in just fine. I think Nakobe Dean being at the helm for the linebacker spot, I think he's going to be phenomenal. I mean, that draft capital from the Georgia Bulldogs alone is so good on defense, and it's more or less the Philly Bulldogs on D. So I think they're going to be really good, and I think they're going to come out on top against the Bills. I think it'll be pretty high scoring, similar to last year's Super Bowl, even with both defenses being very good. All depends on the quarterback play, but last year Jalen Hurts showed that he can play in the
Yeah.
Super Bowl. He can play in the big game. So
So you have the Bills.
I would love to see the Bills.
You have the Bills losing their fifth Super Bowl in a row.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
currently 0-4.
I'd love to see the Bills win. I'd love to see that fan base get one. We got a few Bills friends who would die happily if the
Yep.
Bills won. But I just don't quite see it happening. I think in that game, you could very likely see in that game or the AFC Championship even, you could see Josh Allen. Sometimes he does play hero
Yeah.
ball, and he doesn't play it great. He makes a lot of stupid throws, a lot of poor decisions, and just tries to show off his arm, which he does have phenomenal
does.
arm strength. But sometimes you just gotta make the smart decision and take a
He's
step
kind of
back.
like a young Ben Roethlisberger, in my opinion, the way I see it. Jesus.
Hopefully not off the field.
Yeah, not off the field. I'm talking about strictly on the field. He's like,
Yeah.
he's got that big body.
Off
he
the
can
field,
run,
I
sling
think
it.
Wandy Franco for the Tampa Bay Rays is kind of following in the Roethlisberger
God.
footsteps there and going after the minors.
Oh,
You know,
geez, yeah.
uh,
That's nobody
he's
likes
got
that.
a taste for the minors.